What's good, fans? Dustin Davis here, bringing you another Bears Express report. Chicago's front office faced critical decisions as injuries mounted and the deadline clock ticked down. After watching key defenders exit the field throughout the season, the Bears organization confronted a reality familiar to every contending team. Depth matters most when it disappears. The questions facing leadership weren't theoretical. How much draft capital should repair a rotation, and which position groups warrant immediate attention versus patient development? The answers arrived in fragments, through modest transactions and louder speculation that never materialized. What the Bears chose to do and what they declined to pursue reveals as much about their current trajectory as any single acquisition could. Let's check out everything that's being said about Chicago in the last few hours. First of all, let me take a moment to ask for your help. If you enjoy our videos, give us a like. It's a great way to keep the content going. Thanks for the support. Injuries along the edge forced Chicago's hand at Tuesday's trade deadline, prompting the acquisition of defensive end Tryon-Shoyinka from Cleveland. The Bears sent a sixth-round pick in 2026 to the Browns while receiving Tryon-Shoyinka and a seventh-rounder in the same draft, completing the swap just 2 days after starter Dayo Odeyingbo suffered an Achilles rupture that ended his season during the Cincinnati matchup. Tampa Bay selected Tryon-Shoyinka with the 32nd overall selection in 2021. The Buccaneers chose not to exercise his fifth-year option, allowing him to reach free agency and sign a one-year, $4.75 million agreement with Cleveland before the current campaign. The 26-year-old logged minimal defensive work behind Myles Garrett, Alex Wright, and Isaiah McGuire in Cleveland's rotation. Across 8 contests, he recorded 9 tackles and 1 quarterback hit, while participating in just 31 defensive plays, though he contributed 58 special team snaps. Chicago projects Tryon-Shoyinka to fill rotation minutes at defensive end following Odeyingbo's departure. Austin Booker, who spent the opening stretch on injured reserve, made his first appearance in 2025 in Week 9 against Cincinnati and posted a sack alongside 2 tackles. The Bears now count 3 available options to line up across from Montez Sweat: Booker, Tryon-Shoyinka, and Daniel Hardy. Head coach Ben Johnson addressed the cycle of injury and recovery during his Monday media session. It's one of those deals where it feels like we take some strides at particular positions, then we take some steps back. It's wild. I felt like we had a solution there with the rookie Shemar Turner at defensive end a couple weeks ago. Then we lost him, then we finally get Booker back, and we lose Dayo. So it's a little bit of give and take. That's, of course, the NFL season. That happens. And so we'll have guys step up. Johnson noted his optimism that Dominique Robinson might return from the ankle issue sustained in Baltimore 2 weeks prior. Chicago's pass defense currently ranks 25th nationally, surrendering 237.6 yards per contest, while the unit sits 18th in sack rate at 6.59%. Tryon-Shoyinka has compiled 15 career sacks over 4 campaigns in Tampa Bay and has suited up for 74 games with 45 starts across 5 professional seasons. Elsewhere, social media sparked speculation about a different kind of acquisition, one that would have reshaped the backfield entirely. With hours remaining before the Tuesday afternoon cutoff, Chicago retained the capacity to execute an additional move targeting a premier running back. New York Jets running back Breece Hall posted cryptic messages across his social accounts amid a flurry of teammate departures on deadline day, including a post that contained only Alexis: Though players frequently share vague updates that fuel unnecessary trade speculation, NFL reporter Jordan Schultz reported that Hall wants to be traded before the 4 p.m. ET deadline. Breaking: NFL running back Breece Hall wants to be traded, I'm told. A little over an hour until the deadline, but Breece wants to be out, Schultz wrote on Tuesday. Hall's reported interest in a new situation immediately connected him to Chicago, whose rushing attack has recently gained momentum despite earlier struggles. Rookie Kyle Monangai erupted for 176 yards in Week 9, while veteran DeAndre Swift has been sidelined with a groin injury that reshuffled the backfield rotation. Deadline day deals face compressed timelines. Any transaction must clear medical reviews, personnel sign-offs, and administrative processing before the 4 p.m. ET window closes. Breece Hall represents a valuable commodity, and the Jets appeared open to dealing him after trading cornerback Sauce Gardner and defensive tackle Quinnen Williams in separate deadline transactions earlier Tuesday. According to Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer, New York's asking price sits around the 3rd-round selection, a reasonable figure for contending teams evaluating Hall as a potential playoff contributor. Approaching 3,000 career rushing yards midway through his fourth professional season, Hall has maintained his standing among the league's elite young runners through 9 appearances in 2025, averaging 5.0 yards per attempt on 117 carries. His most recent performance featured 18 carries for 2 touchdowns and 133 yards against Cincinnati, marking his third 100-yard outing this season and demonstrating his capability to absorb heavy workloads while producing explosive plays. Chicago's ground game has shown marked improvement. The Bears have topped 200 rushing yards in 2 of their past 3 contests, with the lone exception being a 98-yard performance in the Week 8 Baltimore loss. Against Cincinnati, Monangai, a 7th-round rookie, averaged 6.8 yards per attempt in his first featured role, finishing with 176 yards, the highest single-game total by a Bears runner since Matt Forte in 2011. Still, questions persist. Chicago has demonstrated the ability to generate explosive single-game rushing totals, but maintaining a run-first identity throughout a playoff chase demands depth and staying healthy. If Swift's growing problem evolves into a prolonged absence, acquiring Hall would carry logic. However, Hall enters the final year of his contract, potentially making him a short-term rental for any acquiring team, a reality that complicates justifying a third-round investment. Clubs considering the move must weigh immediate postseason upside against surrendering a mid-round asset and forfeiting long-term roster control. Chicago still possessed time to finalize additional transactions, though they had already secured pass rushing depth earlier Tuesday. If Chicago chose not to pursue Hall, its 2025 approach suggests caution, blending emerging young talent, veteran contributors, salary cap discipline, and the option to target complementary additions rather than a short-term rental that might constrain future flexibility. Out west, another name dominated deadline conversations, though the noise surrounding him ultimately proved louder than the reality. Following Pete Carroll's installation as head coach and Tom Brady's prominent, engaged presence as minority owner, both future Hall of Famers, expectations positioned the Las Vegas Raiders as contenders this season, potentially mounting the franchise's first Super Bowl run since 2002. A founding member of the American Football League in 1960 that joined the NFL following the 1970 merger, the Raiders have reached 5 Super Bowls and captured 3 championships. The most recent title arrived in 1983 during the club's temporary Los Angeles period. The 2025 campaign has fallen well short of those projections. Past the season's midpoint, Las Vegas sits at 3-5 and appears increasingly distant from postseason participation for a 4th straight year, and would represent the 21st non-playoff season across the past 23 years. The persistent decline has naturally prompted speculation that the Silver and Black might deal premium assets before Tuesday's trade deadline, with no player drawing more attention than 7th-year edge rusher Maxx Crosby. He has been linked frequently, possibly most consistently, to the Chicago Bears, a 5-3 NFC North team that seems positioned to pursue a legitimate playoff run. Adding a talent of Crosby's stature could represent the transformative move Chicago seeks. Yet, on Tuesday afternoon, hours before the deadline expired, veteran NFL insider Jay Glazer of Fox Sports dampened those hopes and broader expectations that the Bears would execute a major deadline acquisition. When a fan inquired whether general manager Ryan Poles would be active on Tuesday, Glazer indicated he anticipated Poles would complete transactions but avoided predicting blockbuster trades. That doesn't mean it's going to land a big-name player. There just aren't those level of players being shopped unless it's a huge haul, and for some guys, their deals are up after this year, so that complicates things too. I don't see anything splashy. A Crosby trade would constitute exactly that type of splash, making Glazer's assessment a direct rebuttal to widespread Crosby to Chicago speculation. Players such as Maxx Crosby and Trey Hendrickson have circulated in trade discussions, though Ryan Heckman of Bears news outlet BGO, Bears Goggles On, observed that the compensation required for those players likely exceeds Poles' capacity if Glazer's reporting proves accurate. Crosby fueled speculation with an ambiguous social media post on Sunday. Raider Nation, I love y'all with everything in my heart and soul. Y'all deserve better. Stay as one. It will change. The 28-year-old 2019 4th-round selection wrote. The message only amplified debate among fans and analysts regarding whether Las Vegas genuinely intended to trade its defensive cornerstone or was signaling internal change, even as front offices publicly maintained measured stances. For Chicago, the hypothetical acquisition would present difficult trade-offs, surrendering draft assets to add an established pass rusher or trusting the existing roster to sustain a playoff push. With hours left before the deadline, conversations surrounding Crosby remained active, but Glazer's report cooled expectations that a splashy move to the Bears was forthcoming. Do you think the Bears made the right call by not going all in for Maxx Crosby? Would adding an elite pass rusher like Crosby have been worth the massive haul Las Vegas was reportedly asking for? Or is Ryan Poles being smart by preserving draft capital and staying patient? Drop your opinion in the comments. Support the channel by leaving a like and subscribing. Stay one step ahead with all the latest on Bears. See you in the next one.